Welcome to the 2024 Sedona Ascension Retreat, Accelerating Consciousness. Presenting the channelers, Sean Swanson, Rob Gauthier, and Wendy Kennedy.
I really feel like channeling is such a profound source of really divine intelligence, advanced intelligence coming from these beings in higher dimensional realms and interdimensional realms in other star systems, right? And so I've gathered together those channelers whose material has really resonated with me, where what they're bringing through feels as if it is very authentic, of course, but also very applicable to what's unfolding on the planet right here and now, and what's most beneficial for us as the humans on this planet right now to know. And so I'm really proud that these three channelers who you're going to be seeing in the next hour and a half here, and then they're going to be on a guest panel that is going to be co-hosted by myself and Ruben Langdon. Now, Ruben Langdon hosts interviews with extra dimensionals, interviews with ED on Gaia TV. You guys know Ruben Langdon, Gaia TV, Gaia Interdimensional? Great, because that's really how I became familiar with our next guest, Sean Swanson. And then Rob Gauthier. Wendy Kennedy, of course, has been bringing through the Pleiadians for decades now, and she's a legend. So I've known her for a long time. But the channel panel tonight, I'm stealing that from Rob Gauthier, is going to have these channelers on it, and Ruben and I will co-host it. But without further ado, my co-host, Alan, is going to introduce Sean Swanson.
Great. You know, channeling is such a gift these days that it's been accepted. You know, 20, 30 years ago they said, what's channeling now? They use that on newscasts. Oh, they're channeling Abraham Lincoln, whoever they're channeling. But, you know, so we're in a new time where it's accepted that we can bring through these energies by opening our consciousness to certain levels. And Sean is one of the amazing people who can do that. So I'll give you a little bio. He travels, and tours in the Heart of Wisdom universe. I didn't know that. He helps people follow their hearts, and he's been channeling since 1995. He channels the Yaels, which, if you've been listening to Bashar, it's one of the offshoots of the Essassani, and the Yaels were another race. So, and plus, Daryl's going to be here tomorrow, so don't miss that. Daryl Anker, who's channeling Bashar. So he has two books out called The Avatars and the Phoenix Lights and Feline Humans. He's featured on 2 episodes of The Extra Dimensionals on Gaia, and he's just a fantastic person, so full of love and compassion and intelligence, and really wants to communicate this next level of consciousness. So is he around? Yeah. There he is. Are we ready on the mic there? They told me to check to see if we're ready. We getting a thumbs up there? We got a thumbs up. So yeah, give a really big hand to Sean Swanson here. Thank you, Sean.
Good evening. My name is Sean Swanson, and I am a channel for Aishwa of the Yael civilization. Yael may be the first people, human beings, from beyond our solar system to arrive here. A little different than first contact, to arrive here and develop mutually uplifting relationships with us. I began channeling in 1995, and Aishwa came through by name around 2008, 2009. But he's been with me since I was born, so he's part of my soul group. And to give you a little more idea of what first arrivals might be like, I could talk about what I've heard him say, or I could just let him come through and talk to you. I'll just step aside and let him describe more about that potential. wonderful to be here with all of you in these blending moments together in this day of our time. Together, in this moment, we can explore more of the infinite, more of the unconditional love that is all of our actual nature. And with this in heart and mind, the idea that Sean mentioned, that we may, the Yahyel civilization, be the first to arrive here, first human beings, in a sense, if you were to see one of us walking down the street. Because we look very similar to you in physical appearance, you might not think anything different. You might. But the real difference, not so much the physicality, it is the idea of the energetically, in a sense. In our civilization, we have chosen, as some other civilizations have, to understand the nature of our existence, to understand the nature of existence, so that we can work with the flow of existence, with the flow of our existence, and experiencing our existence from one moment to the next in ways that are very fulfilling for us, enjoyable, easy, exciting, fresh, new. In that way, with a sense of being whole, nothing missing, being whole in each moment, having that which fulfills us, one moment to the next moment, one day to the next day, to the next week, to the next month, throughout our lifetimes. And we understand in your world it's a little different. You've chosen to explore the idea of separation from this understanding for hundreds of years. And yet, as a civilization on Earth, you're choosing now to come back to remember the idea of the actual nature of your existence, the actual nature of existence. So you can then work with the flow of your existence, with the flow of existence. And in that, then it becomes easier and easier and easier to go with the flow of the unconditional love that we all are, to act, to take action in alignment with the way that the unconditional love that you are always functions, always is in action, supporting and being supported by all that you, I, we, the infinite, the one is. That is eternal, eternally unconditional love in this way. And all that exists and expresses itself seemingly as a part of a larger existence contains all that is. The one existence, again, is eternal, unconditional love. And the behavior, the action of the unconditional love that we all always are eternally is to support that which you most strongly perceive yourself to be, and thus are putting out in that way through the thoughts you think the most, the strongest, that you have the strongest feelings about, and that you take the most action upon, consciously and subconsciously. And remember when I'm saying that you are experiencing an aspect of the infinite, of the all that is the one that is the all that is you, for you are the one that is the all that is the one. Again, eternal, unconditional love. The way you experience that therein isn't just what you most strongly put out, with your thoughts you think the most, and the emotions you have the most towards those thoughts you think the most, and that you take the most action consciously and subconsciously. It isn't just the you perceive and experience yourself to be, because you are part of the all that is the one. And so there are others that are interacting with you, that are in that way key players on the stage of life experience, key components in what it is you are putting out, and thus getting back in the multidimensional mirror of your experiencing of the one eternal unconditional love that you always are in this sense. And so it is beginning in your civilization to become more aware of this, that you exist eternally as unconditional love, experiencing yourself seemingly as parts, and yet you are always containing within you the one that is the all. And how you experience that, again, is what you most strongly put out. And thus you get back that experience of existence, the unconditional love that you are. And to have experience, of course, something has to change. And that is that all things are always changing so that you can have experiences. But what does not ever change of the eternal unconditional love that you always are is that you are always unconditional love, and what you and how you experience it is by what you most strongly put out. That never changes. But everything else always changes. But even change changes to no change. And that's where those initial ideas come from, that you are always unchangingly unconditional love. Eternally. And what you experience in your life and how you experience it is always a function of what you most strongly put out. With the thoughts you think the most, that have the strongest emotions about, and you take the most actions with in that sense. And again, it isn't just the you understand and perceive yourself to be, because you are part of the all that is the one. So that what you're experiencing has to do with others around you, in your family, in your close life, in the extremities of your day-to-day life, people seemingly off in the distance, walking in the street, perhaps you haven't met, but they are a part of this. What you put out is what you get back, in a sense. Why? Because what you put out is a function of who you are. You are part of the all that is the one. So the more you begin to understand, to invite your higher self, your inner heart, your heart wisdom, to open you up to this understanding, invite your higher self, your inner self, however you want to call this, to begin informing you more and more of how you function in these ways, and who it is you're functioning with, and what you most strongly put out. Who the other functions, who the other people are, the other forms of life. For it isn't just people that are part of the all that is the one, that is you that is the all that is the one. Eternally, again, it is the action and the behavior of the unconditional love that you eternally are that makes this possible, to have this ever-changing experience of life. For this is what you do as the core state of your existence, that is eternal, unconditional love. Unconditional love that you are, here now, always, 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 and how you experience the unconditional love that you always are, how you're acting as the unconditional love that you are, for it always supports you by bringing unto you that which you perceive yourself to be. You perceive yourself to be, again, has to do with part of the all that is the one that you eternally are. Invite yourself, your higher self, to start informing you more and more of what this is, how this works, and you'll start receiving downloads, you'll start receiving images in your mind's eye, dreams, interactions, knowings, understandings of how you're functioning and creating your experience. And as this more flows through you, you'll begin to understand where it is you have beliefs that you put out that are out of alignment with your actual nature, that cause the ideas of dysfunction individually and as a society, as a community, as a family. Anything that is out of alignment with existence will instantly notify you, because in a sense you have a built-in mechanism, notification system, to let you know when you have a belief that's out of alignment with your actual nature, such as feeling down, feeling sad, feeling left out, feeling life doesn't work for you, feeling hopeless, feeling out of sorts, feeling like you aren't very worthy, feeling like you don't deserve to be loved, or thinking you're less than, or thinking you're more than, thinking you are greater than. So those are all ideas that are out of alignment with your actual nature, and thus then when you have any of those sensations, you can stop and think, why am I feeling out of sorts here in this way? What belief must I have that is out of sorts with my actual nature in order to feel out of sorts? Because understand in every moment of here and now, there are an infinite number of ways you can feel joy. New, fascinating, fun, fulfilling ways in which you can experience laughter, tears of joy flowing through you. The effortlessness to allow laughter to flow through you from one moment to the next, in moments where that's appropriate, and where maybe it's more to be at ease, to be comforting someone, to be peaceful with someone, to be hugging them, to be talking softly, to be whispering, to just be in meditation. But you'll be able to do that and feel the unconditional love that you actually are. The infinite support is always who you actually are. More you'll be able to feel it. You'll be able to feel it more and more and more. To feel whole. To feel the knowingness that you will always have what you need to have when you need to have it, without question. And having that sense of feeling the unconditional love that you actually are, always supporting you in a way that will bring about a sense of fulfillment, newness, fun, excitement, peacefulness, easefulness, fascination, nourishment, you will more simply be functioning more in alignment with those in our and other civilizations that grow up knowing and understanding the actual nature of existence. Invite yourself to become more aware of this, and you will then begin to get in touch with it. Many of you are doing this, yes. Thank you. As a civilization, you are moving forward more and more into this reality. And that takes me to the next place, the idea of when you get to a certain vibration as a collective consciousness, your vibration will be so similar to ours. What will happen? What can happen? That talk is the idea then of first arrivals of our, perhaps another civilization, all right, there might be another, but certainly there can be others who come into first contact. Yes, for us it's the idea of first arrivals in a sense. Human beings we are, from another civilization. Outside your solar system, we originate in a sense. Because there are, you could say, genetic components with everybody born on this planet. So in a sense, you are part of a Yahyel civilization. My Yahyel civilization is not like some other Yahyel civilizations that are similar in some senses and dissimilar in others. Yes, there isn't just one Yahyel civilization. And part of the multiple Yahyel civilizations has to do with the idea I just said that everyone on planet Earth has some Yahyel DNA within them. And it is through not just that DNA that is within everybody here, but one of the primary mechanisms, doorways, accesses, channels, avenues by which you and us can begin to open up a conversation, a relation, communication, a communication of interrelation, relationships, if you will. Ships of communication, traveling back and forth with what I know with what you know, where I am, where you are, others in my civilization, others in your civilization, having these interactions, communications. They can take place at any moment of the here and now. Today, tomorrow, continuously, when you're sleeping, in your dream time, in your daydreams. The communications can begin to allow you to more easily feel perfect in a sense. Feel the unconditional love that you are. Feel unconditionally loved. Feel the behavior of who and what you are doing the action of supporting you unconditionally. Feeling support unconditionally in ways that are in alignment with your actual nature, that you exist eternally as unconditional love, and how you experience that has to do with what you most strongly put out in that sense. And of course, everything is always changing, and that allows you to have experiences. If nothing changes, you have no experience in that sense. So, you always have access to this. You always have access to this. You always have access here and now to more understanding of your actual nature, to connect, to open up more of the DNA within you. So more of us can communicate with you, let's say telepathically in a sense, dream states, daydream states, meditative states, and even walking. In times where you're active doing something. Could be when you're driving. Could be when you're walking. Could be when you're at work. Could be when you're at play. And suddenly there's a moment where you feel something a little different take place. An adjustment, a change. That's a little bit, or very deeply connecting, touching to you. And those could be moments where versions of you on other realities, dimensionalities, or communication from one of us that is closely connected, very closely connected to you, not just genetically, but you have already established a relationship with. Sean, the channel, and me have known each other for millennia, in a sense. In a sense, we are eternal, connected, in a sense. In the moment he was born, in this lifetime, physically, I was aware of that. I was connected to it. He has come to realize experiences that he has had were when I was born in my current lifetime. Yes, and these are experiences of joy that I have in my life that sometimes he is able to receive, in a sense. If, or as an example, as an analogy, the hand The palm of the hand is like the soul. A finger is him. I am another finger. We share the same soul. We are attached to the same hand. We are attached to the same soul. Each of you has this kind of a connection with others who are in other planetary civilizations, physical and non-physical. And having also the genetic DNA within your body, we have as well, strengthens the ability for you, when you decide if there's something you're interested in, to invite more connection to these versions of understanding of your actual infinite, eternal, unconditionally loving nature, so you can more effortlessly act and behave and create and manifest and feel in alignment with existence, with your actual nature, and therein thus feel joy, playfulness, easefulness, the ability to feel strong and secure and safe, whole, comfortable, with a sense of underlying joy, like you're gonna just laugh, you're just gonna cry, you're so happy. It's always like an underlying foundation. It's always there, even when you're just quiet and soft. Maybe you're sitting with some friends quietly in a room, but there is this underlying foundation of this immense, wonderful joyfulness that has no end. It has no sky as the limit concept. There is no box. There is no frequency that it's stuck at, that it's in that sense calibrated into, and only that frequency. It is eternal, infinite in its ever-changing nature. That therein is available for each of you here and now, here and now, here and now. That sense of underlying joy, that's like the foundation or the cushion that you're walking on, you're breathing on, your awareness is floating on. It's the sense of ability to just laugh, perhaps cry with joy, with happiness. It doesn't have to be any reason, you just let it flow. You just allow it. And there are times where that could be an aspect of you in another dimensionality, physical, non-physical. It could be one of us in our civilization that is as I am connected to Sean in that sense, sharing the same soul, sharing fingers, sharing the same hand, that analogy. You potentially have such connections, if not our civilization, other civilizations that have the idea of helping human beings on Earth understand their actual nature and work in alignment with their actual nature. To go with the flow, in a sense, to let go of exploration of separation and limitation. When you understand or are aware of your actual nature, acting in alignment with it becomes automatic. And there, in that sense, there is no more difficulty. There is no more sense of separation. There is no more the idea of governments and governings. There is no idea of policing and authorities. You are all in that way working synchronistically, in a sense. Yes. Synchronistically, spontaneously, like an orchestra. Oh, hitting the right perfect heart notes, melodies, rhythms, dancing effortlessly together. One, humans on Earth, beautiful, dancing, playing, sharing, loving, supporting each other, being supported by one another, understanding when and how to support another, understanding when to allow others to step in and support you, feeling gratitude for each person, and then having appreciation, feeling appreciated, feeling others have gratitude for you. And therein that allows you to feel more of that underlying foundation of unconditional love. Right here. Right, you can just bring it up and just flow it through your existence of experience any moment you choose to. Snap of a finger. Instantaneously you can do this. We do this. Other civilizations do this. This is reality in other realities, where there are an infinite number of realities. You can decide to choose the realities you prefer, but it helps when you make choices to know what the choices are. So I'm just sharing some other choices. If it's exciting, fun, seems fulfilling to you, start asking your heart wisdom to help you, to enlighten you, to inform you how to do this. And then understand, as you ask, also say, oh, I am doing it more and more. I'm asking how to do it more and more, and I am doing it more and more. So you're asking, and then you're stating that you are. And the more you do that, the more you get back the information, the more you get yourself actually doing it. You get back the experiences. And it is in getting back the experiences that is the proof of what I am sharing with you. In a sense, that's the way you can. The idea, of course, the proof is in the tasting of the pudding. Yes, all right. So, inherently, when you are more of you at this vibrational state, what happens? Well, we are in a position more easily to show up. As you realize you have connections and relationships with us already, you start to remember what some of those relationships are. Memories, in a sense. Your real memories. Real, not screen memories, not implanted memories. Your real memories coming to you of interactions with one or more of us. You start to realize you have families with one or more. And perhaps my Yahyel civilization might be a different Yahyel civilization. It might be the Sasani civilization. Yes, it might be Arcturian, it might be Pleiadian. Yes, could be any or more. It could be a combination of these. There's more of you, perhaps, than you have allowed yourself to consider. Ask your higher self to help you connect to more of these versions of you. And then state that you are connecting to more of them. So you'll start getting back experiences of connecting to more of them, in a sense. You will start to enjoy the memories of the relationships that you have with us. And therein, when the time comes when your vibration is so similar to us in that way, so similar in vibration of conscious understanding and emotional reality and heart wisdom, that joyful underlying foundation within you that we all have in our own, and other civilizations that are helping you have in their world, there is this attraction that just happens magnetically, in a sense, built in a sense. And what will that look like when that happens? As more of you realize you have connections with us and you start reliving those, it starts to help also get your vibration more similar to ours. So what day and what time and where do we suddenly show up? Is it going to be in this city or that city, or where is it? Well, the idea isn't there is not an exact time or date in how I'm going to share this idea. And that is because there are so many variations in all of your energetic frequencies and what you are manifesting, ours as well, and the other civilizations that many of you have contacts and connections and already established relationships with. So the time and date, well, all right, that's going to have to do with when you started more and more in resonance with our and these other civilizations. And then it happens like magnetically, automatically, attraction, well, yes. So then where? Where? What city? Well, you are going to start knowing this. Individuals, you're going to start knowing. You're going to start receiving information internally. You're just going to start knowing. You're going to start getting images of the location. And because there are several of you, thousands, millions, well, billions of you, yes, therein can be multiple locations. And so it will be, in a sense, wherever it is you are most likely residing, when it is, in that sense, you will start receiving visuals, knowings of places in your area, in your locale, in your location, in your neighborhood. And that way you don't all have to try and converge in one city or two cities or three cities. It's going to begin happening multiple locations, many locations. And again, you're going to start to know internally. You might talk to somebody who says, I'm getting this sense that I should be going to this place. I'm not sure about it. Since that's where I'm going to be meeting some of these. I have this relationship with others, loving beings. I want to reconnect. I want to be a part of life with them again. I feel there's so much love in this relationship. And there is. You're feeling what is a real experiences that you've had with these other civilizations, the other parts of the family, the extraterrestrial soul family, yes. So you're getting the sense that you want to go to this place, and they're like, well, but you live and I'm getting the sense of this place. Oh, well, okay. And then you will start to know your friend to go to this location, and maybe you get a sense to go to a different location. You'll start to sense where it is. And when the timing is there, You will feel it. And a little bit like when you know when it's time to get something to drink, in a sense, or have something to eat, in a sense. You will get a sense to know internally. You will know internally. You're not looking out, you're not turning on the TV or the radio or checking the internet or looking at the device. No. You know, internally. You know, hey. You get to know when it will unfold, where for you it will be. Now, not everybody will feel the desire to go to the locations they're being guided to. Not everybody will go to these places, and they will know if to go or not to go. And whichever it is, they will know which way they choose to go will go best for them in this dynamic of first arrivals with our civilization. And yes, there is the idea of some other very similar civilizations that can be a part of this. Because your civilization is connected to so many other extraterrestrial civilizations. But the ones that will be coming are the ones that you have a heartfelt, loving connection with, supporting relationship with. Unconditionally loving, unconditionally in alignment with the actual nature of the unconditional love that you eternally are. You are unconditional love eternally. And you'll start to realize and feel these relationships with these other civilizations. It could be one, it could be two. And you will know. You will know internally. And it will be a joyful experience for you. You can choose to invite this, if this is the way you wanted to have it unfold, choose to have it unfold this way. It doesn't have to be some strange civilization will come here. Who or what, why, how. No, it doesn't have to be a blind date with an extraterrestrial civilization. It just shows up and sits down on the planet and you say, well, do we get along? Are we compatible? No. Start to say what you would most enjoy. And I'm getting a sense there that somebody is coming to join me. Contact. Here it is. It's happening. Isn't this loving? You like the way it's unfolding? Thank you all. Much love. Always in, always in.
Let's give a big applause to Rob Gautier. Yeah. Got some fans. Is this your first time in Sedona?
No, I was here last year, late last year, with Suzanne for the fall time one. So, yeah.
Right. Well, your guides are waiting for you. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Or you rather stand?
I'm gonna stand first and
Sure,
have
do
a
you-
chat with everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alan. I appreciate it. Thank you, Suzanne. Thank all of you guys for being here. Sedona is a beautiful place, and I really have enjoyed my time. Normally, my channeling is a very long process, so in a 30-minute span, I don't usually just jump in. But I'll tell you a funny story at the end of this, and then maybe I'll bring in Ardif or Trev for just a second. But I wanted to introduce myself, to know me as a channeler. I think it's important to know me as a person. A lot of people don't make that divide. A lot of people look at channelers and they say, oh, I've seen it happen with Daryl. Everyone calls him Bashar. I've seen it happen a million times. And it's normal, they are kind of connected as one being. But to know the human is an important part too. I think that helps understand the energy that comes from the channeling, to know the person too. So my name is Rob and I live in Michigan. I lived there most of my life. At the age of 19, I had a son. I'd gotten into a lot of trouble before then, hung out with knuckleheads and did stupid stuff. And at 19, I had my very first son, Jeremy, and he was born with some medical issues, some pretty severe ones. cerebral palsy. And, you know, as he got older, we saw the depth of that problem that he was going to have physically and developmentally until about the age of 2, when they kind of dropped the hammer and said, hey, he's not doing anything he's supposed to be doing. He's not going to walk. He's not going to talk. And so there I was as a young kid, about 19, 20 years old, and I felt like my life was kind of pulled out of me, and it was really intense. All the hopes and aspirations that I had for my son turned into kind of a long fear and a nightmare. So after that, yeah, I better stay in the light. All right, I'm not at ramp. All right. So, you know, at that time, I'm like, I feel really disconnected, and I got into a car accident, and I was put on prescription pain medication, which caused a very long and severe addiction. And during that addiction, it took probably 9 years to get off it, but it sucked me into a deep and dark place. I burned every bridge, every relationship I had with everyone but my son. You know, my son was that part of my life that never disappeared, that never dissipated. My caring for him was actually the most important thing. It kept me going. And eventually, when I saw how, you know, I turned my life into a pothole, I decided I was going to shift gears, and I did. And I got clean, and it took a while, but it happened. And during that time, for any of you who might know someone who's been addicted to drugs and a very heavy addiction, when they come out of it, it's like they're a new person. It's almost like they were when they were a kid. Innocent to life, innocent to their own emotions, innocent to the way they see things, because they've had that haze over their eyes for so long. And I think even people who don't do drugs can understand that when they're coming to a conference like this, and they found something inside of themselves that wants to know more, wants to connect to more. They really feel like those veils that were laid there before are kind of taken off. And that's how I felt in a very deep way. Now, I had a lot of spiritual programming as a child. I grew up in lots of different types of churches, but most of them were do everything that we say, or you go to hell and you stay there permanently. And that was scary, you know, for a kid. Most of you who've gone to church as a kid, it was pretty intense. And that was really the only spirituality I understood. It was the only spirituality I knew. And it didn't feel good to me. So I'm exploring, and as a kid, I used to get into UFOs and ghosts and spirits and things like that. Anyone who grew up in the 80s remembers Unsolved Mysteries and those types of things. So I watched a lot of those types of programs. Always what got me in trouble in church was those programs, because I'd say, hey, what about this? You know, is it God, the devil, or something in between? And that was not appreciated at all. And so I did that, and I got back into that pretty good, pretty heavily when I got back in. And one of the things that fascinated me most was people who claimed that they could communicate with the dead. I thought, this is something that is absolutely amazing, and if it's real, we have a way to find out a lot of truths. So I found something that was slightly comfortable for me and enough to help me bridge from my previous beliefs to new beliefs, and I found the Spiritualism Church. And that Spiritualism Church was just a bunch of people who connected to spirits and talked and said, we got messages. And I knew that they were either lunatics or that they had something that no one else had. And I wanted to figure out which one that was. I went in there on my first time. This is early, you know, pre-Facebook. MySpace was up, but, you know, I wasn't on there talking about things in my life. I was just, you know, sharing videos or music, something like that. And by the time I got to the church and I sat down with the guy who was the leader of the church, who was the head psychic or medium there, he gave me a reading about my son. He gave me a reading about my life, and I knew no one in this church. And I knew everything that this guy was talking about, that he knew something. I didn't know where he knew it from. I figured it might be spirit, so I gave it a chance, and I kept going back, and they taught. You know, one day I'm sitting and I said, I wish I could do that, to a guy who I started to get to know. And he said, everybody can do that. And I'm like, no, no, not everybody can do that. And he said, yes, you know, anyone can do that. So he sat with me, and he said, stay after. You always leave right after the church is done. Stay after. And I was like, there's an after? He said, yeah, there's an after. well, we sit down and we got in a circle. And any of you who know anything about the spiritualism church, there's always that plasma thing, and a lot of people saw that as a scam back then. And there were a lot of people who were scamming with things like that. But this is like the energy of that church. That's what that whole plasma thing was back in the 1800s and early 1900s, was a spiritualism church. So I sat in a circle, you know, closed my eyes, did the meditation. When I opened my eyes in a completely dark room, I saw like a purple flame, like a plasma. Not a flame, but more like a plasma. And I was like, whoa, that's crazy. And I kept going back and trying, and eventually I get words here and there. Nothing real good, nothing spectacular, but enough for me to know that, hey, maybe everyone can tap into something like that. So anyway, I went to the church for a while. My meditation got better, but it was a church and there was a lot of dogma and a lot of fighting, and I left. And I decided to do my own thing, and I found binaural beats online, the hemi-sync stuff, and that really tapped me into a next level. And I kept doing that for a while. And after I got done with a few months of finishing the program of the Gateway Experience, I had a bad day and I went into meditation. And in the Gateway Experience, there's 21 steps. You know, you go 1, 2, 3, and each step you get a little deeper into your trance, or a little deeper into your consciousness. And at the point of 21, I'm just like, what happens if you go past 21? You know, and I'm like, just let's go past. So I didn't say 22, 23. I just said, what's beyond 21? And that's the day I met my first guide, who's Treb. And this was a meeting in the astral state, not something that I ever even considered. The most vivid dream I ever had, and the most vivid experience to that point, was a past life recollection of a time during the medieval wars. So that was the most vivid thing I'd ever had. And this made that like it was nothing. This was real. Instantly I felt fear, because the guide who I met, his name is Treb. He's very large and very scary looking, and he's also a reptilian being. And this is something that scares humans naturally. It's in our DNA. We don't like snakes, we don't like reptilian beings, and we've been taught too a lot to hate reptilian extraterrestrials and extra dimensionals. So here I am with this being, and a fear that was in my heart that was it wasn't like anything I'd ever felt. It was a visceral, painful, you know, heart-stopping feeling of fear. And then I just felt the snap off. I felt this love. And this love was something that I can only describe, that made the love that I felt for my son, which was the most love in the world. You know, obviously nothing can love anything more than I can love my son. And it made that look small and feel insignificant. And I was like, what's going on here? So I continued going back and meeting with him, and we talked. And he unraveled a whole lot of things about me and him and our relationship. As souls, we have connections to so many different beings and guides. And I unwrapped that connection, and I stayed with that connection. And through the things that he shared with me about life, about reality, and through my own research on the internet, the things that I found that kind of backed up what he said were things that were channeled. And the thing that I found was the Seth material with Jane Roberts, and a lot of those things about how reality works. That's the only place I could find it. And I bumped into that accidentally on a UFO video. And it just was a sub-mention in the little side. So I explored that, and I bounced that back from that material. And I said, all right, you know, what you've shared with me, and this is going on 2 years after I met him. I just meditated every day, and that's something I left out. I changed my addiction for drugs to addiction to meditation, and I did meditate anywhere from 4 to 8 hours a day. Yeah, it was great for me, but everyone around me just saw me sitting on the couch, which wasn't very fun. But that did help me kind of get there to Treb. And so I'm connecting with Treb every day, and my life is changing from the information that he's sharing with me, plus the information I'm finding on the internet that kind of backed up what he was saying. And I said, well, you know, Jane Roberts and Seth, they do that channeling thing where they can come through. Can we do that? He's like, yeah, of course we can do that. And I was like, how? And he shared some insights, and I looked online, and I found a lot. And there wasn't a lot back then. This is around 2010, so I mean, a few people were doing online things or having videos. Wendy, the next lady who's coming, she had some videos that were up, and Daryl Hanka and Lee Carroll, and that was about it. And there wasn't much to bounce off of, but I wanted to try it. And literally the fourth time I made it happen, I said, I'm sharing this with the world. And I thought, I'm gonna do this on YouTube, because I had another YouTube channel that was a tech review channel that I enjoyed, and it didn't grow big or anything, I just enjoyed sharing with people. So I said, I'm gonna throw this channeling on, and I did. And the first video in like a week ended up getting 3,000 views, and a lot of laughs, a lot of good laughs were made on my account. But I also had a lot of people who said, hey, this is really cool, man, I enjoy this is something different. Or they said, hey, that was very insightful. I think the first time Treb came through when we shared a video was how to connect to your heart and how to connect to your energy. And it's something Alan said when he was here. Yes, I channel extraterrestrials, and after my time with Treb, I met Ardif, and after I met with Ardif, my channeling just exploded and connected to over 1,000 different ETs at this point who I've channeled at this time. And that's why they call me ET Whisperer, which is a funny name, a story for a different time. But the energy behind all of the beings that I've channeled, the energy behind all of that came from that first excitement to help and share. And as far out as the energy is, extra dimensionals, extraterrestrials, it's all very non-earthly things. The things that I really love about Treb and Ardif specifically is that they bring it back down to earth. And I think Alan did a good job of sharing that. And I never really had thought about it that way, even though I knew that what they share is tangible, and what they share is interesting, and what they share can be about ETs and space and what's going on out there. But it always brings you back to your own central authority. It brings you back to letting you understand the most important part of our whole journey in life is that you're the one in control of it. That any extraterrestrial, any extra dimensional being who shares something with you, it might help you unlock a door. But if that energy isn't right for you, then you've got to connect to you to find that. And that's got to be your choice. Don't listen to what one being says or another. Listen to yourself. And if what you hear feels good, then bring that in a little deeper and see how better it feels. And if it keeps feeling better, then you know you've got a new truth. And it's very important to remember. And Treb, I love Treb at this point. I've been spending 2 years. I actually had the mentality that I had back in my drug life where I'm like, I'm not gonna trust this being who magically appears in my brain and just listen. So I sat with him for 2 years before I did anything with him. And by then I had already loved him, appreciated him, seen him as a good friend. But the thing that he said that opened me up to him fully was when I was doing a book with a guy named Jefferson. And one of the things Treb said is that any being in the universe, the most longest living, wisest entity in the world, can't always share what's best for you, that your own higher self is where your connection to the universe is. So trust your higher self, trust your heart, and you'll always be led in the right direction. And right then, I knew that it was absolutely amazing. So I don't know how much time we got, but I want to tell you another story. All right, we've got enough time. Last night, I sat with a friend, a lady who will be here next, one of my favorite channelers in the world, Wendy. We were having dinner last night, and she helped me with something that was very beautiful. Normally, when I come to channel, I come up here, and you'll hear me oming for about 3 to 5 minutes, just very loud. It's part of my process, but the other part of my process that most people don't see is the 10 minutes that it takes for me to breathe and to neutralize my energy and to really connect in to that energy of Treb and Ardif, because I go very deep. I'm a deep trance channeler. And I kind of call trance channeling a dinosaur thing, because most people now who start channeling are doing conscious channeling. Most of the people who are accomplished channelers who've done it for many years, they're either semi-trance or semi-conscious channelers or fully conscious channelers. So it's something I never really thought I'd do. I'd conscious channeled before, in my own home with my wife practicing, who's also a channeler, so it's always great for us to bounce back and forth with each other. And I was able to do it, but I didn't feel okay about it because it didn't come through the same way. And I'm like, it comes through in a way for a reason, so I'm going to keep it like that. And Wendy just came next to me and said, hey, I want to help you with something, I said, sure. And her and her guides just did some energy, and she started talking to me about the process, the connection process. And she said a lot of that is in the beliefs that you have about that. And I said, yeah, I know, it's something I've always thought about. But she taught me last night in a 5-minute period how to get in and out of it like that. So it's something now that I really appreciate, because for the longest of time, if someone said, hey, I want to do an hour session with you, it would take 90 minutes or 2 hours to finish it, because obviously I want to say hello to them at first, and then I have to go off for 10 minutes and then come back, and then after I'm done, ground, and it's a bit of a process. So I have never done this ever in public or with any other human but Wendy and with Ruben last night. But I'll share a little bit with you before I jump off stage. I'm going to have Ardif come in and just share something real quick, and then I'm going to jump off, and when I channel later, I'll be channeling Trev with the rest of the group. So you get to meet them both today. And don't laugh if I can't get it right away, because I'm still very new at doing this quick. Greetings to all, this is Ardif, that is A-R-I-D-I-F, and this is it spelled. We understand all of you are here for the time of co-creation with one another in order to expand minds and hearts with internal consciousness and be a part of a greater collective energy. And in that greater collective, you will find both a reflection and an expansion of yourself as well. So we invite all of you to close your eyes in this moment and to connect first to your heart, most importantly, and most efficiently, if you desire to reach forward, co-creating with other beings as well. And feel the very center nature of your heart. Feel the expansion of that heart as it goes into the throat chakra region, and your third eye chakra region, and your crown chakra region, and feel that expansion. With intention alone, you can express a desire to connect to your higher self, and to express that connection of your higher self work with the guides that are closest to you, the guides that benefit you most greatly, and of course, the guides who are willing to co-create in that effort to co-create experience of expansion and co-create conversations as well. So bring forward that energy of the expansion of the heart past your crown chakra and invite your own higher self to bring forward a consciousness into co-creating with you. Now, of course, the intention can be expressed through different means, such as, I desire only the entities who are most benevolent and in alignment with my own vibrational frequency and desire. You can express, I desire only to co-create with reptilian consciousness. That is very exciting for me to connect with. You can express any form of intention that you desire, and let that intention sit. Soon, show recognition of the feeling of your physical body, and of course, the energy that you feel inside of your heart. At that very moment, you can open the consciousness of co-creation between, whether there are words or not, this entity exists as a part of a co-creation with you. And of course, the embracing of that energy is the final step forward in order to make that co-creation more tangible and, of course, more useful in your experience as well. We wish to bid all of you adieu. And of course, you are loved. you. That feels very, very different from what I'm used to. When I'm gone, I'm used to hanging out with Treb, and I can still feel my body, but I can't see or hear much, so it's very different for me. Thank you for being for being my guinea pigs. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Love you.
That was incredible, and I'm backstage with Wendy Kennedy, right? And we're holding our breath. And boom, right? Mic drop. He brings it through right away. How amazing. I love that.
What a great gift for this audience to see that for the first time.
That
Thank you,
is.
Rob. Take a bow, Rob. Take a bow. Just one more little bow. You had to.
Next, we have a legend in channeling. She may be one of the first channelers that I ever became aware of. And the Pleiadians, right? The Pleiadians are pervasive. Who here loves the Pleiadians? Right? Beautiful, sweet energy, so pure, so full of light. And Wendy brings them through so incredibly beautifully. I'll let Alan introduce her.
No, these are not just any Pleiadians, if you ever met any Pleiadians. These are ninth dimensional Pleiadian collective, which is what she's sort of channeling now, among other things. But she started with the angelic guides, and she's been doing it such a long time. She has become a legend in the channeling field. So, are we ready for Wendy? Yes? Yes? Out there? All right, let's bring on Wendy Kennedy. Let's give her a big, big hand.
So first I want to just thank Suzanne for bringing me here and to be able to share this time with you. And also I just want to acknowledge the staff and all the hard work that they've been doing. So they've all just been so incredibly friendly and helpful. So thank you very much. This is my 29th year of doing this work. It is really difficult to believe that it has been that long. And I actually started with, as Alan was saying, a lot of different beings. I started with my angelic guides, and then Arcturians came in, some Syrians. And when I started, I was doing automatic writing. And about after a year, I was hearing the words well in advance, and the guide said, it's time to put down the pen and the paper and just channel verbally. And so I did. And once I did that, the ninth dimensional Pleiadian collective came in. And they were waiting for me to channel verbally because they actually work with tone and sound, which is why their dialect is different than my own. It's not really any one specific dialect. It's just tones and sounds that resonate with you at a cellular level. And, you know, it's elongated vowels. So a lot of times you'll say, well, why does everybody sound different when they channel? And a lot of these guides will choose a dialect that has elongated vowels so they can modulate the frequencies. So in addition to getting the information, you're also getting a healing. And we're gonna work today. Because I sat down and I asked the guides, I said, well, what do you want to talk about? I want to introduce you. And they said, well, we want to work. So we kind of worked together, and they said, well, there are three energies that really everybody needs to call on as we move through 2024, because it's a very intense year, and it's going to get even more intense as we go. This is really the year that we're doing a lot of processing and a lot of integration. So the guides are going to come in, they're going to talk here for a little bit, and then we're going to work with some galactic light codes, which is what's behind me. So when we get to that part, I'll talk about that. And also just know that there are many, 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 many beings here with us, and a lot of the galactic beings that I work with, they'll also be coming through. And so you'll notice that the energy might change just a little bit. And the guides, like I said, are going to talk a little more about what exactly this is and what to do with it. All right? So I'm going to get out of the way and let the guides come in. If you could give me a verbal at 10 and just let me know. Great, thank you. So everybody just take a nice deep breath. And by the way, I just want to acknowledge Rob. I'm so proud of you. I don't know where you are. You know, and he's the living proof of what is something that is just readily available to all of us. It's about moving out of the head, the operating system of the ego mind, and moving into the heart center. I know the guys are going to talk about that, but we all have the ability to tap into this energy. So, well done, Rob. Yes, hello, dears. This is the Ninth Dimensional Pleiadian Collective, and it is a pleasure and an honor to have the opportunity to connect with you. So we're going to cover a lot of ground in a short amount of time, but we want to start here by just talking about some basics. And many of you have heard us before, but we're going to cover this again, and sometimes you need to hear things repeatedly in order to really allow it to sink in and to align with the version of the truth that you would like to. And truth is always colored by perspective. And as we go today, anything that doesn't resonate with you, let it go, leave it behind. If it is a truth that you need in your future, it will come back around again and we'll plant a few seeds and you'll say, we've heard that before. The Pleiadians talked about that. So it will help to teach discernment so that you learn to stand in your power. And this is what the code behind us is for you to really start to work to stand in your personal power. Now, you are playing a game. The Earth is a grand experiment, and there is genetic material that has been donated from thousands and thousands of worlds. And along with that genetic material is all of the emotional component, all of the history of all of those beings who've donated that material. So Earth is a very fertile ground when it comes to emotions. You have a wide range of emotions, and this is why. Because you have all of this DNA that was donated, and not just to humans, but also to all the other species that exist on your planet. This is also why there are many hybrid projects going on. This is why there are so many ETs who are present and observing what is happening, because you are part of their heritage. You are part of their lineage. And so, lucky them, they have access to planet Earth through you, through the DNA, because this has been kind of a quarantine zone, if you will, so that only those who had a connection by soul or a connection through DNA were able to really interact with you in a direct way, because there are so many beings who want to observe what's going on here on Earth right now. And what is happening here as you go through your ascension process will create a ripple effect through the entire universe. So it will actually change the universal game. And it's quite remarkable. So here you are on Earth, you're working with your emotions. We call Earth the planet of emotions. So if you want to learn about emotions, you go to Earth School and you play there. But your emotions are incredibly potent and powerful, because it is your emotional state that drives frequency into being. So you can hold a thought, and that will help to form in your mind's eye the awareness of the frequency that you want, but it is your emotional connection to that which will pulse it out with a bit more oomph. And when that energy goes out, it is the universe's responsibility to then create the form for you. It is not your responsibility. And this is a subtle difference that many who talk about manifestation have missed. All right, they tell you to really focus on the visual of what it is that you want. And we're here to tell you that it is the frequency that is so absolutely vital. We'll come to that again in just a moment. So here you are having this grand experiment. And it was a game of descension and re-ascension. You thought, wouldn't it be fun to go down into density, forget who we are, and then see if we can work our way out of it? And so here you are. How's it going? Are you having fun? Are you wondering, why did I say yes? But here you are, and we're honored to be here with you. So this really is fun to the soul, because in the higher dimensional ranges, it is very unlike any other dimension. You don this illusion that you are separate from source energy. And that is a very interesting thing, because that pulls you out, and it gives you the illusion of time, that there is a past, present, and future, and that there is a progression with that. And it also keeps you from knowing what's coming around the corner. It's a bit like getting on a roller coaster ride, and you know it's going to go up and down, and you know there might be some twists and turns, but you don't know exactly when they're coming, and that makes the ride fun. And so it is with you with this lifetime. Because in all the other dimensional ranges, you can peek ahead, and you can see. It's like also, you know, seeing a trailer for a movie with all the good parts in it. When you get to watch the movie, you know it's coming. And so you don't have the same connection with it. You don't have the same reaction to it. And that's why souls love to come down into density. And so here you are, as Suzanne was saying, you have these grand cycles, and you are coming to the end of one of those cycles. And you can visualize it this way. Think about a track that has the white line painted on it for the start and the finish line. And this is actually a plane in space that you move through. And this sector of space, this start and finish line, is rich with photonic energy, light particles, that support you and remind you of your true divine nature. And so that makes the integration process much easier. So what is integration? Integration is releasing your judgment to say, this is good, this is bad, this is right, this is wrong. It's the middle way, as she was saying. So you are learning how to see both the light and the dark as part of source energy. It is all the same thing. Some lifetimes you will don the victim role, sometimes the perpetrator. Sometimes the most interesting lives that you've had have been the lifetimes where you were the perpetrator, because it was so unlike the other experiences that you've had in the higher realms, because you know the moment that you create something, you feel exactly what the rest of creation feels as a result of your actions. You understand the ramifications. All right? And this is actually what happens to you here when you cross over. Some of you say, you know, you're going to go to purgatory or hell. It is the recognition of the ramifications of your actions that people experience, and they sometimes can get stuck in that energy without moving through it to transverse that area, as it were. So here you are playing this game of descension and reascension. And you have two operating systems that allow you to operate here in human form. You have the operating system of the mind, which we call the ego mind, that allows you this illusion of separation, that you are this personality. And you might have a sense that you are a divine being of light, but you don't know that with certainty. There are a few of you who've had near-death experiences, or you have perhaps indulged in some plant medicine and had an awareness of that in a very deep level and been able to bring that with certainty back into the physical structure. But for most of you, it is something that you have confidence in, but you may not have certainty in. And so this is what you are working towards, having a true remembrance of your divine being. And the way that you do that can happen within an instant. It is you moving out of this operating system of the mind and moving into the heart center. The mind was meant to partition off files, if you will, experiences, knowledge, wisdom, so that you could operate under this illusion. And you also experience time, because if you didn't have time, then every time you had a negative thought, if it was immediately manifest, you'd be going through the death cycle over and over and over again. So when you have time, then you have an opportunity to alter your frequency, so you're no longer in resonance with the energy and you're no longer creating it in the physical reality. And as you move higher in frequency, time is compressed, and that's why you feel like you just got up and it's time to go to bed. And this is going to continue to happen until you actually move across the dimensional barrier and step out of time. But right now, you can access that energy through the heart center. And it's just as easy as thinking of something that makes you smile. So we would ask all of you to do that right now. We typically recommend a baby animal, maybe a place, probably not your pet, because they may have just chewed your favorite pair of shoes. All right, probably not a loved one, because maybe you're thinking about that argument you had 2 months ago. All right? And just notice your energy. Has it changed at all? Have you noticed a shift in that moment of thinking that something that makes you smile? Yes? No? For most of you, yes. You'll find you feel uplifted, tingly. All right? You're feeling a bit expanded. And that's all you have to do. All you have to do to go through the ascension process is to keep coming back to this heart-centered space. Again and again and again. And eventually, you'll go to that space and you will stay there. Right? But for now, you're going to drop out. Don't beat yourself up. You'll go up. You'll stay for a while. You'll drop out. All the ego mind programs kick in. And then, As you go up, all right, you'll say, ooh, this doesn't feel so good, let's go back up. Hopefully you'll stay there longer. And every time when you drop out, you won't go as far, and every time you go up, you'll stay there longer. All right, so that's how it works. It's not difficult. But you have these ideas in your mind that you say, oh, well, this is how it has to be. I have to go meditate on the hillside for an hour. All right? It's not that difficult. It's about having a moment where you put yourself back in that heart-centered space. So now as you're moving through the year 2024, it's going to be an intense one. And it already has started off that way, and it's going to get a bit more intense. And we would say this is probably the hardest year that you all are going to go through. Because you have this acceleration of time, you're seeing your patterns in a way that you couldn't see them 5 years ago or 3 years ago. They're there, they're in your face. And you know, you all create drama to get your attention when you're not paying attention. And this is what's happening on the globe right now. You've created high drama so the collective can see the patterns and programs that you have created for yourselves. From 2019 to 2026, in the future, when we look back, we call it frequency wars. That's what you're in the middle of. Because there is a vying for control of all of your energy, your thoughts, your emotions, and your physical structure. And we don't tell you this to instill fear, but rather to empower you. Because there are those who have been playing with you. Sometimes it has been beings off-world. Sometimes it's bloodlines that hold the knowledge and the remembrance of how to manifest and to stay and maintain control by manipulating the collective. And you're beginning to see it, and you're beginning to remember who and what you truly are. You are a divine being of light having this physical experience. So if you think about it this way, imagine a house of cards. And at the top, those cards are all supported by all the cards at the bottom. And if you start to pull out some of those cards at the bottom, the whole thing comes tumbling down. And that's what those who are trying to control and manipulate at the moment don't want you to know. And that's what we are here to remind you of. All right? So one of the ways that we like to work is with the language of light. We also like to work with the written form of the language of light, which is what you see behind us. So for those of you who don't know what that is, it is Source's language, and it's comprised of light, sound, sacred geometry, and cosmic information. So there are all these carrier waves of frequency that are compressed and that you receive. Now, the language of light speaks to you, the divine being of light, having this physical experience. And you don't have to know exactly what's being said. But what the language of light does is it reminds you of frequency. It says, here is this option over here that you can attune yourself to if you so choose. And you can think of it like someone playing a note on the piano. They ask you to sing a note of C, and you say, well, I don't have perfect pitch. I can't reproduce that. Most of you don't. But if they play the note, you say, oh, that note, no problem. And that's what the language of light helps you to do. And also encoded in the language of light is all this information. So you can think about it like this. You know, you might hear the language, and if you were to interpret it into words, it might be, it's a nice day. But you have a knowing, a clear cognizance that it's 75 degrees, the birds are chirping, the grass is green. There's all this other detail that becomes available to you, and that's encoded in the carrier wave. So as we work here with the language of light, you will notice that the frequency will change because there are other beings who are showing up, sometimes hundreds at a time from different systems. And as they work to share the language of light, they are encoding in the information their how-to. So let's say you want to bake a cake. If you've never baked it before, you don't have a recipe, you don't know how, it's very difficult and it can be a hot mess. But if someone gives you a recipe, you have something to follow, and you can either create a semblance of a cake, you've halfway got there, or you might create something that's really great, all right? But you now know how to do it. And that's what these beings are sharing, because these beings who are showing up are sharing their knowledge and wisdom. And they are presenting you with the information and how their system worked through the very issues that you're working through now. All right, so that's why it may change. You don't have to know who it is. You don't have to know exactly what's being said. The codes behind are giving you an idea of the general energy. So we want to start with empowerment. and to remind you that you are the one who determines how you feel in any given moment. It is not about the external world making you feel a particular way. It's not having to wait until something happens outside of you to feel a particular way. You are the generator of frequency that gets pulsed out. The universe brings you matching form, and it is reflected back to you. And then you're observing the frequencies as they go by, and you say, that one is the one that I want. And then you step out to greet it. It is not your responsibility to focus on the form. And we're going to talk about that in just a minute when we get to our last galactic light code here. But for now, we want you to feel empowered, because there's a lot going on in the collective consciousness right now. And it is very easy for you to plug into the fears of the collective and have worries about the financial system and the potential for war and the potential for all these other things that are being sold to you. But as enough of you say, well, that's a lovely story over there, I'm going to choose a frequency over here. And as you do that, that has the ability to rapidly shift the collective consciousness and avoid what may be predicted, because you are raising your frequency. Remember what we said at the beginning, that you have this idea of time so that you can alter your frequency so that you don't create that lower vibration. And this is where we want you to be, to stand in your power, to remember that you are the creator and the generator of your reality, and you are not damned to be punished because the collective is not where you might hope that the collective would be. The collective may be going through a bit of a challenging period, but that doesn't mean your life and your experience of reality in the day-to-day moment has to be that way. You choose that in every single moment. Every moment shows you how you are expressing or suppressing your divine light. And if you can approach life from that standpoint of where's the information that is being shown back to me? Am I expressing my light? And most of you, by the way, if you're expressing your light, you don't stop to ask about it. You're in flow. It's usually when you stop, that things aren't flowing, that you say, what's happening here? All right? And it's usually to show you that there is more light available to you. Maybe you're holding on to a sense of disempowerment. You're thinking that you're somehow victimized. And the experience that you may be having is showing you that there is more power available to you. You just have to take responsibility for your part in the co-creation, and that will put you back in your power. All right. So with the language of light, there's nothing you need to know or do. Just relax, take a nice deep breath, and we're going to work on this one, which is for empowerment fast. Ishakotora amini jukete bitakta arbede jukete bitakta armeni shikete ira armeni jukotote imena aisha shiketa hasokotora amini jukete bitakta arbede bitakta jukete hita armeni bitakta juketa hasakototoy hishata armeni jukete hisa aira rakata haso ora amini jukete bitakta indo ora arbede juketa hatakata anda de imbrede bitakta jukete bitakta hisa atakata. Take a nice deep breath. We're going to do another round for that one. Isono kotore esha and kudora imahatata ele ara arroje shishepata. Inda sakatora ara mahashishikata. Inda ara ore imena ida ibidibida berjukate ita armene ida tata armene berjukata hasakata. Isha ata arra beri jukata inda da kada remedi beri jukati ida da de judo do imene beri jukata arwere beri jukati inda ai kadai iso ora remedi beri jukata beri jukati hisa kadai. Take a nice deep breath. How are you all doing? All right. So as you go here over the coming year, you might find that there are fears about feeling safe that can be triggered. And understand that you are integrating all of these issues from these genetic lines. And there are 7 major systems which have archetypal patterns with which Earth most closely align. So you've got the Pleiades, Arcturus, Lyra, Sirius, Orion, Cassiopeia, and Andromeda. And all of these systems have different areas that they want to work on. Right now, you're going through a process as you go through this particular year that you are working on integrating a lot of the patterns from Sirius and Orion. Orion was probably the darkest system, the darkest lifetimes. It actually makes what's going on here look like child's play. Because in Orion, even your thoughts were monitored. In Orion, the archetypal pattern is about trust, control, and manipulation. And those were the patterns that they had to really integrate. And the way that the Orions did that was through their thoughts, elevating their frequency. And once you did that, you stepped out of the game. All right, so those that are trying to play at the lower level were not able to access the frequency that those beings were accessing unless they shifted their resonance. And this is what you are learning how to do. It's taking the cards from the bottom of the house of cards, all right? So if we could switch slides to safety, all right? So with safety, we're talking about emotional safety as well as perhaps physical safety. Some of you might not feel particularly safe. It could be financial. It could be the location on the planet that you're living. There may be some unrest. It may be that you don't feel safe in telling other people what your belief systems are. You would be surprised when you all start sharing, that, oh, we're connecting with guides over here, that your neighbor may say, oh, I've had a very similar experience. But you all, through many, many lifetimes of persecution, have kind of shut that down. So there's a bit of fear of persecution that you are also integrating, and that falls into the safety category as well. All right? So there you have safety. So we're going to do another round for safety. So take a nice deep breath.
Oda armini bir kada berjuga bir kada iza jada tata armini bir kada anda ai sasa kada armini bir judora rabreda shishi beta kada imbora ebere bir kada berjuga de ibra bir berjuga de bir kada ale bir berjuga de bir kada imra bir jutti to bir kada berjuga de kada inda ada armini bir berjuga de bir kada anda ashashkotoi inda armai iso kotora are baha kotora ashkotoi inda ambokora Asokotora Aisha Shakata. Dodo imbera berjede de nadar berjugana berjinde de mena berjede de ndada da jude de ar berjugana inda ar berjugata inda ar ijibidikata inda da shitakata. All right, take another nice deep breath. It's safe to be in your body and it's safe to connect. Take another nice deep breath. All right, so we can move on to the next one as well. So the last one here is for envisioning reality. What is it that you want to create for your reality? It's very difficult for you all right now because you are in a very special period. You are learning how to create brand new things. You have no reference point for the system that you're in. If you are trying to visualize what it is that you want to create, and you keep going back to the old image, you're staying in the old box. And we want you out of the box. So how do you do that if you don't have the visual? You work with frequency. So you might know that you want a new job. You don't know exactly what that looks like, but you know you want a job that has flexibility. You know you want a job that maybe you get to work from home. Or maybe you're someone who actually needs that social interaction and you want a lot of people coming in and out of your work environment so you can meet as many people as possible. You have the idea, the essence of what it is that you want to create, and you start working there. What would it feel like to be? You can say, I am this thing, or I wonder what it would feel like to be this thing. Now you'll notice that there are affirmations on the bottoms of the galactic light codes. So you can work with them and say, what would it feel like to be? And sometimes this is easier because if you say, I am this thing, sometimes the ego mind will get busy and say, oh, well, no, not really. Or you might be able to hold it for a moment and then the chattering starts. So if you're just curious, it doesn't matter which way you say it, it puts you in resonance with the frequency. But the act of being curious doesn't activate the ego mind in the same way. So as you go, what do you want? What's the vibrational essence of what you want for your future? And start focusing on that. When you get up in the morning, pick a frequency or two that you want. Maybe you want peace. What would would it feel like to have peace today in my life, in my body, in my mind, in my emotional center? And give yourself a moment to just really feel into that. And then as you go through your day, check in. Am I peaceful? Oh, not so much. My boss just came in and that didn't feel very good. So back to the heart center you go. Think about something that makes you smile. And then set a new intention for the frequency. What would it feel like to be peaceful? And then keep going as you go throughout your day. If you keep coming back to it and you have a practice of that, life becomes a lot easier because you're monitoring your energy. So those drops out, again, they don't happen as frequently and you don't go as far. If you just do it once in the morning and then you don't check in until the end of the day, you've probably dropped a lot and then you're gonna have to work all the way back up. So start envisioning the frequencies that you want and working there. All right, we're gonna do another round. Take a deep breath. Hasakata arrebidibishkata handadakata hasa oto to ora aishashashay berabrakata handadakatai isa. All right, take another nice deep breath. All right. So we'll go ahead and we'll leave you here. You can go ahead and switch to the next slide if you wouldn't mind. And, you know, Wendy will finish up with you, but we want to acknowledge you. We thank you for the opportunity to be able to connect with you. And it is a joy and a pleasure. And you can connect with us at any time. You don't need Wendy. Just ground, heart center yourself. Ask your question. Questions are important. If you don't ask, you don't get. And until then, we are around. We're watching. We're waiting. And we're sending many, many well wishes. So that's the piece. So if you want to keep working with these codes, typically what the guides recommend that you do is work with them 3 times a day for 3 days in a row. That gives you just an opportunity to become familiar with this subtle energy. And you know, really that's what we're doing is we're learning how to read subtle frequency. And when you do that, you can read everything. Whether you want the Akashic records, your guides, source, the dearly departed, it all becomes available. It's like being able to learn to read a book. And so as we start to practice with this and monitor our energy, we open up a whole new world, whole new universe really. So if you can get the QR code and you want to work with that, you are welcome to. You can download them there. And if for some reason you're having difficulty, you'll also find the QR code at our table. We've got it on there as well. So I want to thank you all for allowing me to bring the piece through, and I also want to thank you for being you and for the light that you bring to the world. Thank you so much.
Stay tuned for the next presentation featuring Linda Moulton Howe with an ET UFO update.